waste box, and they will miss the chance to let them know their new ideas. So in that sense, you just need the first paragraph. You don't need to read the second or third paragraph if you don't have time. You can just skip them. And for the background, once again, so in the C graph proceedings, so they all are good papers. And so far you prefer to read it, so you don't need to check it out whether this paper is really good or not by reading this part, because all the papers should be good. But if you pick up this kind of papers from the internet by Googling, sometimes they are nasty. Because sometimes they are good papers, sometimes they are not. So you can't tell, nobody can tell, because there is no qualification step for such kind of papers. Sometimes the very small conference or workshops may accept all the papers. That may include the good papers from the bad papers. So you have to check it out if this paper is really good or not by reading the background part. If they don't know, if they don't have good sentences in the background, this is like, okay, our tomato is the world best, who is just living in the Tsukuba town and he never get out of the town. So nobody can trust him. So you shouldn't trust him. In the most cases, such kind of saying is false. So only the people who really go out and travel all the world can say this tomato is really good. Others, it may be true, but in many cases it's not true. So probably even in the case if you succeeded in picking up the good papers, you believe this is a good paper, but it lacks the background part, probably your advisors won't believe that. Because from their experiences, the papers which lacks this part is really not good. Because we are all trying to be the world best. The world best is a very hard task. So to showing the ability, so they should know at least some knowledge, expert knowledge. And so in that sense, they should be able to write down some background explanation to show their ability or to show their knowledge is really world safe. But in any, okay, let's go back to how to read the paper. So you can skip out the background part. And then technical part usually starts here. Or sometimes the last part of the introduction will be the introduction to the will be the explanation for the organization of the technical part. And so if you have a time, you can read. You may read technical part. And if you don't have time, we are sorry to say that, okay, we should skip this part or something like that. But in that case, at least you should check, of course, figures to grab. Sometimes watching the figures only may lead you to be a misunderstanding of the papers, but in many cases, that case is not so bad. So actually, as a result, because and in addition, because C-graph paper is all related with visual information, so they are strongly encouraged to put the figure on the very first part of the paper. So this is a very good position. So like the newspaper's first part, so this part is the best to show. So usually many papers spend that part to show the abstract, because abstract is important, as you may already know. But as for the C-graph, the figures are more important than the abstract sentences. So that's why they put the figures and the short sentences, which well describes their appealing point. So as for the C-graph, if you don't have time, the shortest way to read the paper is just see the figure 1 and read the caption and finish. You may say something, and but unfortunately, other papers for like the pattern recognition or robotics journal, they don't have such kind of good figures. In that sense, in that case, you have to read the abstract at least. And if you don't have time, so what you have to do is that you don't actually you don't even need to read all the sentences in the abstract. You just try to find out we propose or our paper describes or something like that. So that's the way I marked. Okay, so you may see such kind of sentence here. So we present the approach to editing a group motion as a whole, blah, blah, blah. So they are going to present this idea. So this is really the important part. So if you succeed in picking up this part, this line, you can finish it. You can finish reading, because this is the most important part, together with figure 1. So these two combinations are the shortest description to understand, not understand, that grab the idea. And if you have a movie, that's perfect. So watching the movie, watching the figure, that means, so first watching the movie is a very interesting experiment, just spending 3 minutes or so. Then by watching the figure 1, you can see which part of the video is really important or the appealing point. And then if you finally find this sentence, you can, you can have the supplemental support, which part is really the new one or which part is really appealing one. And in addition to that, so if you have more time, you can go through at the end of the abstract. And for that, so you are just asked to find out the novel or new or such kind of keywords. Other sentences can be omitted. If you have a time, you can read all through. But if you don't have time, because once again, all the papers are organized to show their novelty or the performance. So what you were asked to find is the novelty or the performance. Something like that. You don't need sentence any else. So okay, in this paper, so if you have a time, 1 more minute, 2 more minutes, you can go step further and find that okay, they will have a novel graph structure. And if you have a time, you can read of the explanation of the what is this graph structure, which vertices represent position of the individuals at the specific frame and the edge encode neighborhood formations and moving trajectories. So probably if you add this kind of sentences, this one, and together with the figures, probably some of your colleagues are very thankful to you, because they can somehow feel the idea, essence of this paper. Then, if you have 5 more minutes or 10 more minutes, you can go a step further. So for the English, non-English speakers, probably it's hard to read the English sentence, and probably it's even hard to find some keywords or terminologies in this kind of long